So number 4 says that what is the maximum value of p equals 24x plus 30y? So 4 states that what is the maximum value of p equals, I'm guessing the maximum value of p, right? Equals 24x plus 30y given the constraints. So when we talk about constraints, it's the limitations of x and y below. So it says here x plus y has to be greater or has to be less than or equal to 4. Y here has to be less than or equal to 2. X can also be less than or equal to 2. And x has to be greater or equal to 0. And also y has to be greater or equal to 0. So given these constraints here, or limitation or restrictions, these are constraints, how can you find the maximum value? So let's take a moment to think about that, and then I'm going to go over the solution with you as well. So take a moment to think about this problem. I'm on track here. I want to finish question 5 by 12:30. That's kind of the goal here. So because we're doing, again, 10 questions per hour, right? That's kind of the pace that we're going by. Ideally about 5 questions a minute, excluding my little spiel at the introduction here. All right, so given these constraints, what can we do? What can we do to find the maximum value? So it says here x plus y has to be less than or equal to 4. So in this case, my maximum value of this constraint here, I need x plus y. I'm going to do this in blue. So x plus y has to equal 4, right? Because this constraint says it has to be less than or equal to 4. Therefore, the 4 is the maximum value of this kind of first constraint here. That's fine. Y has to be less than or equal to 2. I want the maximum value. I want the greatest number, right? Which means y has to equal 2 in this case. Because if it's less than 2, I'll get a lower number, right? So I don't want a lower number. I want the biggest number, right? It's asking for the maximum value. If y equals 2, x also has to equal 2, right? It has the same constraint or same limitation as y, right? X has to be less than or equal to 2. I'm picking 2. I'm picking my biggest number, right? And then it says here, x has to be greater or equal to 0, and y has to be also be greater than or equal to 0. However, if y equals 2, this satisfies this constraint here, and x equals 2 also satisfies this, right? Because 2 is greater than 0, 2 is greater than 0, right? For x and for y respectively. So this here are my variables here. I have x equals 2 and y equals 2, and I can prove that because x plus y equals 4, right? So y, if x is 2 and y is 2, 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's perfect here. So these are what the actually no, not this part. This is what I'm going to need to plug in for p here. So let me solve for this problem here. So this is p equals 24x plus 30y, and I have here p equals 24, x equals 2, plus 30 times y here also equals 2, right? And then what I can do is I can just simply solve this problem here, right? So p here, the maximum value of p, 24 times 2 is 48, plus 30 times 2 is 60 here. 48 plus 60 here is 108, and that's going to be my final answer for this problem. The maximum value of p is 108. So this here is my max value here. So let's look at the answer here. So in this case, they used inequalities, and that's perfectly fine. That's the topic of this concept here. These are all inequalities. So, and then what they did was they actually graphed this, which is actually a really, really good way to show inequalities and to show where it lies graphically on a region. We could totally do that if I had a graphing calculator. If I pull up Desmos, and I can actually plot this function here. And then what they did was I actually really like this graph, because what they're doing is they're showing you the x plus y equals 4 here, which is this function here, and then they're showing at what points the maximum value. So if x equals 2 here and y equals 2, it's at 2, 2 here, right? So 2, 2 here is my maximum point for both of them, so which is what I did here, right? Instead of writing x equals 2, y equals 2, what they did was they wrote, I'm going to do this in red, they wrote 2, 2 as their point, right? Because that's what it represents graphically. And then what they did was they plugged in their point 2, 2 into this equation here. And although I don't think they showed their work here, which is unfortunate here, but I would have liked them to show this here when we solve for a maximum value here. But 2, 2 is the correct point. So this here is a great solution. So I'm going to say great solution. But I wish they showed their work for this 100 value here. I wish they showed work to solve for p equals 108 when you substitute the points, or the point in this case, 2, 2. So that's kind of what I wish they would do, but the solution is correct here. I did it algebraically and they did it graphically. So in this case, because again, I'm kind of limited in my software, I only have Xiteboard here. I can't really show you graphically because again, if you tuned into my previous video, it was kind of messy when I started to graph. So I do prefer to do things algebraically. But when I do need to graph though, I would pull up Desmos and show you that as well. But this is a great solution. This still works. They just solved it graphically. I solved it algebraically. Totally fine. Both approaches are fine. I just wish they showed work for to solve for p equals 108 here when they said the point here. That's about it. That's still a good solution though. So the solution is correct.